beep, 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 beep. Bonjour and bienvenue, whatever it is. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The film and the monsieur. I don't know. I don't speak French. The only French that I speak is on menus, right? Coq au vin. That's a good night. Right? We've got news from France. Yep. Hello to all my French viewers and to the French warrior teachers. We've got some news, right? This is going to be an interesting one because it's from a website called Countersignal, but it's about the French senators proposed to imprison doctors who prescribe puberty blockers to under 18s. Okay, this is something I can get behind, and I'm sure that you can get behind. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and become a warrior teacher. We're starting in May. That's now. So please do become a warrior teacher. That's what really keeps me going. So if you can become a warrior teacher, that'd be great. Buy me a coffee, all the stuff, and thank you to everyone who does. It's great to be able to keep going. Over 100 French senators proposed to make it illegal to give hormone therapy to alleged trans youth. Love the word alleged there. Alleged trans youth. Punishable by up to 2 years of imprisonment. Yep, we're going in the right direction. European countries are revolting. I want to stop there. No, I don't. I'm kidding. European countries are revolting against puberty blockers, with 6 of them now reversing course and prohibiting doctors from prescribing drugs to alleged trans youth. And France could soon follow. Now, I've got the sense this may have been AI translated, but it seems to make sense here, so we'll keep going. Now, earlier this week, Scotland became the 6th European country to restrict gender-affirming care, with the NHS going as far as disallowing the treatment on anyone under 18. All of which we can celebrate. Now, this is France's centre-right Republican Party, and they appear to have woken up, after receiving a devastating report on the trans identification of minors. This is AI, see? That stated that sexual transition of young people will be considered one of the greatest ethical scandals in the history of medicine, as reported by journalist Bernard Lane. How you doing there, Bernard? The AI bots picked up on you and put it on this site. Bernard. A draft law tabled last month by over 100 senators aims to regulate the medical care of minors with gender dysphoria. Namely by prohibiting the prescription of puberty blockers and hormonal treatments to develop secondary sexual characteristics for patients under 18 years old. Failure to comply with the article L.2137-1 of the Public Health Code relating to the care of minors with gender dysphoria is punishable by 2 years imprisonment and a fine of €30,000. That's what the draft law reads, and there's a link to the law. Is it me or are we on the right track? They don't like it up 'em. Issues from the report given to the senators on the transing of kids included a lack of evidence it's safe, the peculiar spike in popularity of the entire 82 gender movement, that's the AI again, the 82 gender movement, and the fact that most kids who consent to take the risky drugs are in a vulnerable state and deserve protection from making irreversible and important long-term decisions. This has been written by AI, right? That's why I found it so interesting. No human was involved in the making of this article. It's a move in the right direction, isn't it? It's a move in the right direction. I'm assuming, that estrogen and testosterone, that they're, prescribed drugs, i.e., they have to be given to you by a doctor. You can't just willy-nilly make them, can you? Some people seem to think they can. I think that's that weird meeting going on. The development comes amid a tsunami of damning evidence, this is a good word, against medically treating trans kids in speech marks, including possible sterility, a lower IQ, and the fact that most trans-identifying kids who don't get prescribed drugs tend to grow out of their presumed identity later in life. In other words, they realised they weren't transgender at all. Gosh, imagine my surprise. I am Jack's absolute surprise. We're finally beginning to get the message out there, folks. Remember, we let them down so bloody badly. Remember that, all right? Data from the Netherlands and the United Kingdom reveals that over 90% of those who begin puberty suppression proceed with gender-affirming procedures. You give them the blockers, the game's over. This is why it's trans the gay away, because so many of them were gay, over 80%. But only approximately 15% of adolescents experiencing gender dysphoria maintain these sentiments once they undergo their natural puberty. With a little bit of psychological help, that 15% will be dealt with. Earlier this year, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith said that children do not have the capacity to make life-altering healthcare decisions and banned doctors from giving hormone therapy or puberty blockers to minors under 16. Smith's policies, while degraded as being hateful and dangerous, are actually supported by more Albertans than those who oppose them. The tide is higher. Advocates for giving trans kids speech marks, puberty blockers, have generally claimed that it's needed to prevent the kids from committing suicide. Puberty blockers are given to so-called trans kids with the rationale that doing so will provide them with more time to explore their gender identity. You and I know that is an outright lie. It's a lie. A lie that has crumbled. And yet we still see them wittering on about it online, on Twitter and everywhere else it is that they're causing trouble, don't we? So this, which I think was translated by AI, you let me know in the doobers, but I think it was. It's got such peculiar use of words in places. You've got to, hang on a minute. Nobody says, you then proceed to procedure. It doesn't do alliteration deliberately. So I think it's got some weird things going on. But have a read of it and you let me know in the doobers when you think it's so. But isn't this extraordinary what we're beginning to see? Isn't it extraordinary? It's coming from the centre-right in France there. It's saying that they're the centre-right party. So I don't know what the chances of it passing are. So if there's any French people watching, please tell me. Because I'd like to know. Really, I'd like to know. And find out exactly what the chances are of this being taken forward. Because we're a few years down the road now, people, and yet there are still people that think that if you don't give the kids these treatments that they're going to die. They're not paying attention. Now, I've noticed over the last few days on Twitter, my God, they're vociferous at the moment, aren't they? Absolutely vociferous, like a spitting puff adder in a corner, whilst we approach them with a flamethrower. The game's up. So there's something going on in terms of them beginning to realise that they're teetering on the edge of oblivion. I had this conversation with the warrior teachers yesterday, and we were talking about how we've made so much progress, and it has to be that we need to put right what has been a terrible medical experiment on humans, which started very, very long time ago indeed. And that this medical experiment, born of something good, which was, I believe, on the battlefields in the early 1900s, to help men who were damaged by machines and essentially metal, and then became something perverted and distorted in the hands of other people, such as Hirschfeld and John Money, that we can end this experiment on humanity. Because I do believe it is a crime. I think it's a crime. So we shut the front door, which means there'll be nobody else getting it under 18. And then we shut the back door by repealing the GRA and letting no more certificates be issued at all. And 40 years from now, it'll all be over. Doesn't it sound harsh? Doesn't it sound brutal? Doesn't it sound brutal? It sounds awfully brutal because it is. But I don't know how else we're going to do it. Anyway. Good news from France. Off you go.